I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you very much.
All right.
I mean, just a minute. You can begin anytime you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our meeting is reconvened at 1:50 PM, and now we will be discussing the appointed superintendent. Today, we need to specifically speak about the RFP. Hopefully, you guys received the email from Paul yesterday. Mr. Collins, do you mind coming and giving us a little?
I have a hard copy of it.
Oh, yes. I was gonna pull it up on my phone, but, yeah, I've been kind of studying as I through this board meeting a little bit today.
Sorry, we don't have a
Thank you.
color printer, so the highlight
Thank you.
areas are just grayed out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Gave me one. Thank you, sir.
Just give it to Joe. I got it on the cover.
Okay. Okay, so to talk about dates, I kind of went ahead and put together a preliminary schedule. I can pass these out too, and then we can work from there. Everybody good with that? It'd be hard to come here and stitch it together.
Thank you. We're looking at probably a 10, 12-week period, right? And if you want to just, do we know, or do you want them to go through the steps real quick? Well, I think we know. Okay, so what is proposed, which I think I looked at it and I think you did a great job, is posting the RFP next week on the 11th.
Correct.
And then our deadline will be Wednesday, April 3rd. And,
That's for questions.
oh, that's for the
For vendors
questions.
to be able to ask us questions, because we want
Okay,
to
oh, yeah. you
give a little
do.
time when we receive the last question to be able to put out answers.
Okay,
you know,
good.
Give them adequate time to,
So then it will be due, there I say it now, on April 12th. I mean 10th at 2 PM. And then our evaluation committee would fall on April 17th from 9 to 1. Interviews fall on April 24th. The interview evaluation meeting, April 24th at 1. Put on the agenda review, board docs, May 24th. And the board approves it on June 11th. You guys, these dates?
That would give us,
Kelly, I will not be here April 24th.
Okay.
okay.
I think we need to
If we
work.
could just move that. Because I'm out of town from right after Easter.
that's a special work session.
I'm out of town the 17th through the 24th.
17th through 24th.
I miss a board meeting and a work session.
What about, does May 5th push it? That would make it,
So the way we kind of have to build it is from the board approval date backwards. So in order to make the June 11th board meeting, we have to have it on the agenda May 24th. And we need time to possibly negotiate a contract with the top-ranked firm. So I had built in a month to do that, and that might be a little much. I don't know how, busy legal is.
School board, the second meeting in June, that's still, I mean, we're still a good year out.
right, but when we look at the deadlines, so this is just the RFP.
Right.
Then we're looking at advertising it for, what did we
How
say,
long?
6 months, or how long were we? It just
For the
depends.
superintendent?
Right, we're gonna advertise it for a while, and then after we hire them, then they need to have enough time to be able to move. So we're probably looking at a good, I don't think a week or two would really matter, but time is clicking pretty quick. That's just,
Well, the firm would be able to start the day after board approval of the RFP in the contract. So, whether it be June 11th or the second meeting in June, then the hired firm could start
To the first,
working for y'all.
okay, so move it to June, hold on.
25th.
June 25th? Oh, you mean when it's placed on the
Yeah, because we
the
will.
board? Okay, but Beth, I'm just trying to figure out when you want to have your meet, like, because you're gone. So does,
They don't. I know it, but still.
she'll be
It
back,
goes
you'll be
quick,
back
though.
when, Beth?
I'll be back I fly back April 24th.
So is April 25th a day that we can
What
meet?
days, what day Yeah, I of the could week? do April 25th. What day of the
So
week?
we just
okay,
move that-
so
we
let's just move
the
it
meeting
April
one day.
25th. There you go. Okay,
And that gives plenty of time to work out a contract.
So you can
Yes.
still leave these other dates as are.
Okay, okay. 25th. And now, because it's an evaluation meeting is considered a public meeting, we do have to advertise the times for those in the RFP so that if the vendors want to show up during the evaluation, they're allowed to. So that's why I just put some times in here, but y'all need to look at those and let me know if those would work for you, or if you want to change the times, that's fine. I'm open any time that day, either one of those days.
I think these times, for the 17th, you suggested 9 a.m. or,
Right, yes, ma'am.
do you guys have a preference, whether it be 9?
Really depends on how many proposals we receive and how much y'all need to talk about each one.
So should we just say 9 then?
Yeah.
Let's say 9.
Okay.
What, did you move to 9 o'clock? The April 25th?
The 17th,
17th. It says 9 already.
It says 9 or
9 or
Oh,
1.
9 or 1. So we're going to do it at 9?
Yes.
Okay.
And then in between that time, let's say we get 6 proposals and y'all narrow it down to 3 that you shortlist that you want to bring in for interviews. That gives those people a week's time to prepare for that.
We'll do the interviews on the 25th as well, correct?
Correct. So we could hold, depending on how many you have, I don't ever put a time for interviews because we just let the shortlisted vendors know after we know who that is. You know, depending on, they may have to travel or whatever to get here. But we could just leave it at that. We can have interviews that morning at whatever times we decide, and then hold the evaluation portion of the interviews that afternoon, if that works for everybody.
Okay.
And I want to ask you something. In this RFP stuff that I was reading, where it says the district, I don't know where it is in here, but it's on the phone. The district approves, like looks at irregularities or looks at something. When you say district, you really mean school board, right?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I know it.
As far as like the irregularities of the bid, if they
Like, you would
forget to
tell
submit a
us, you
form
would come
or-
to us about this. You wouldn't just disqualify it because it was some sort of irregularity that,
It depends on what it is. For instance, in a bid process, when we reject a bid, sometimes it's because they don't follow the Florida preference law that's out there in statute. So there's no way around that. So they don't even get to be recommended, you know, or looked at any further.
like, how can they not follow? Like, give me for example, like, what would they not follow?
So Florida preference is if they are a Florida company, or let's say a company in Georgia submits a bid to us. If there's a form that the state is, well, we've developed a form, but there are regulations and statute that require them to have their attorney or an attorney in that state that they're located in to fill out this form as to whether or not that state has a preference. And a lot of times vendors don't want to pay for an attorney to do that, so they don't fill out the form at all. And they're required to by law to submit that.
But do we include the
us.
form with our packet, or? I
Yes,
mean,
ma'am.
It would, they would only file if they're filing, or they'd file it, but they're really trying to get Florida preference. They're depending on who you go with, like the FSBA would probably file that form because they want Florida preference. And that's why you
I don't
do
understand
that.
this.
That's not involved in this at all. That's just a for instance, but.
I mean, I just don't want someone to be disqualified because they didn't fill out a form when they could get a chance to fill out the form. When you get the packet, okay, this packet's not complete. I don't want to throw out a great company because,
If they're non-responsive, then you disqualify them. So if
well,
they
that's
don't,
one thing, but,
well, filling out the application and the packet properly is part of their job.
You don't want to open yourself up to a protest by, accepting something after the fact from somebody when somebody
but
did it right.
you're clear, though, in the packet that they have to fill out a Florida process form, or whatever y'all call it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So
If
it's
the-
clear
if
that
they're-
the
if
check, like that's
If
one of the
they're
boxes.
requesting Florida
Now,
preference.
that, they have to fill it out whether their state has it. So if they're a Georgia company, does your state have a preference thing? And then they're
does that
supposed to have an attorney. What the preference, like in Florida, you get like they get a preference because the Florida legislature said we want to get Florida businesses more work through our public entities. We don't want you going to Georgia. So they've got a system where they try to level out the rates. So like say Georgia's going to charge you, and we had this come up with gas, I think recently. They're going to charge you at $3 a gallon. There's a company in Florida that's going to charge you, $3.05. The Florida company gets a preference that drops their rate to $2.95.
I don't know what that.
Now they become the low bidder
Right.
because they're getting the Florida preference. So the company, Georgia company, was actually cheaper, but because of the Florida preference,
What's that got to do with
It
this?
has nothing to do with this process
It's
whatsoever.
just
I
an
was just
example.
using that as an example. You said, are there things that you would throw out?
So what
So-
would make you throw out?
A Florida preference.
If we received a proposal that wasn't signed by anybody, if it was just blank?
Oh, I thought you had to have a Florida preference form in.
No, I was just using that as an example of a case where we would not
Like, what in the
consider.
world is it?
All day.
Were y'all as lost
Y'all,
as me?
everybody's starting to look glazed over.
And Florida preference only applies to actual goods that you
No,
purchase,
well, my
not services.
question was not about that. My question was, what would cause one of these people to get thrown out? And then you said Florida preference. I'm like, oh,
Okay, I
no, what,
apologize.
on this RFP, can you foresee it getting thrown out?
Not a lot typically in RFPs. We always
Okay,
get
that would have been
complete
a great
responses.
answer. Thank you.
So
I
as
wouldn't have
long
gone the
as-
Florida
so
preference
As long
route.
as it's a complete RFP, it will go forward.
Yes, sir.
If it's incomplete, we're kicking them out.
For the most part, yes, sir. Mhm.
I was looking for the check for the Florida preference form to be included.
Like I said, typically, people that respond to RFPs, and especially something like this, they are very professional in their responses and make sure they,
Okay.
cover all the bases.
We don't have to include a Florida preference. That's good.
Okay, so are we good then? I think we're clear now.
Okay.
Is there anything else we
Um,
need to?
So one question I did have for you is typically when we do an RFP, let's say for health insurance or the CDL simulator we did, if we get those questions in, they're all funneled into me, and I disperse those to the subject matter experts that can provide the answer. So in this case, since the board is going to be the evaluators of this process, how would you like for me, when questions do come in regarding the RFP, if it's not a process question, if it's more of an idea question or whatever, do you want me to email you all that or funnel it to Mr. Gibbs?
I agree.
Maybe copy it to us, so we kind of know.
To see it, yeah.
But addressed to him with just a copy to us, so we kind of know, so we can
And
call
if it's
Paul and
something
ask
he
him it's
needs.
about.
Yes,
Yeah.
and if you need to bring it to us, then you can.
I'll let him make that call, but I'd like to see a copy of it, just copy us what you
Right,
sent
'cause
him.
it's a new process.
Okay. That's the only question I had. If y'all are comfortable with the times that we've got, then that's what we'll move forward with, and we'll get it posted out.
I just have a question. Paul, have you looked at all of this? Is there anything in here? Because I was looking through it and I wasn't sure that everything would apply to this type of company for an RFP. For example,
I saw a couple of those too, like, this would be just state
I was
statute
okay
requirement.
with the proposer's cost worksheet. And now I can't think, but are you comfortable?
I'm comfortable with the form. I mean, it's a template. It's their standard template, and we looked at it when we looked at the Duval one, and that he generated this off of, so.
Okay.
I mean, I'm comfortable that
Okay.
it'll cover our bases. so.
Okay, that was
Well-
So many things
that
in
was my
statutes you
question.
gotta take.
They'll answer this, and then they know they're gonna get a chance to negotiate an actual contract
Okay,
down the road, so.
okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're good.
Later on, once it's out and we get closer to the opening date, I'll forward you some documents that you'll need to look at and be prepared for the first evaluation meeting.
It could be.
I know where it came from.
Okay, and then also, did you guys, right, exactly. Did you guys look at what Paul gave us a week and a half?
Finished products?
The finished products 2 weeks ago, whenever, and we're good? We're
Yep,
good to
I
go?
went through everything.
Yeah, everything was great.
Everything that we,
Had everything included.
Ask for 'em.
everything included, so yeah.
Yep, okay, good, so we have a consensus with that.
So what's the next step, Paul?
We gotta still finalize the job description. I mean, that we have to have that piece done through rulemaking and ready to go. It's got the evaluation part on there that we're still working on. I made those changes in there, but I don't know.
So we
if
have
it's
to
in
have
front.
the evaluation.
Before that section of the job description, there's an evaluation section. I made the changes on there that we had already discussed from the New York
Yeah,
job thing. I didn't know if that was where you guys wanted it completed. So if, we have to have that finalized before they can do their search, so by June, whenever they're gonna go in there. So
right.
that's our timeline.
So would you, let me tell you where we are with that. We, spent a couple of hours looking through that evaluation, and pretty much everything that was on there was exactly what we should be evaluating on. The way we're going to do the strategic plan that will move into that process is that instead of giving each section of the strategic plan actual points like it has in the different sections of this job description, all right? And the way this will work was that they'll have numbers. So ineffective will have a 1 on all of these different categories. Developing will have a 2, effective a 3, and highly effective a 4. So that can go into the computer. Now, one of the ways that this will be rated is through the strategic plan, and that will go into what part of the strategic plan fits under operational and all of that. So with this strategic plan, because we have those measurable benchmarks on the strategic plan, at the end of each year, the directors of those particular areas, or executive directors, whatever, did we meet the 3%? If it's yes, they check yes. If no, they check no. So we don't actually put numerical value to the strategic plan. It's either yes, we met it, or no, we didn't. Then we take that and we figure out what points, based on the strategic plan and these other leadership components. All right, so do you understand what I'm saying? Because we were trying to say, okay, so let's break out the strategic plan where it belongs in this, and let's give it points. And I said, why don't we either met it or we didn't? It's a yes or a no. And then use what's already here. And if you look at these, if you really study this, this is exactly what the superintendent should be ranked on. Now, some of it will have more weight than others, and we'll bring that all to you, and I'll try to have that the next time. For example, we felt like communication and community relations should have a little more weight. Ethical leadership, that those things should have a little more weight then vision, culture, instructional leadership, and operations, resource, and personal management, because that takes the whole team. But those two things, that is the superintendent. So we'll bring that to you, so it'll have a weight. Then everything will go into the computer, and we will each score it individually, just like we said we would, and then we will get that score all together that we will see. So it'll take all of our scores
Average them all together.
and spit it out, and then that's what we'll see. And that's what will be discussed at that board meeting. So we worked quite a bit of time on how do we do this so that it's
Who are you
fair.
working with on that?
Dr. Grantham,
Okay.
all right? How do we do this so it's fair and we get what we want, but at the same time, there's some room in there. So
So it's measurable and reflective.
very measurable and reflective, which is what we want. Okay? So with that said, I don't know, I don't want to hold up.
Right, no, it's just, that if you're fine with the job description as I had given it to you the last time, I made those changes, I put the New York stuff in there with the short description. If you're good
Yeah.
with that and it's final, then we can start that process. But that's the only piece that absolutely has to be done by June so that they can hit the ground running when you have the search firm ready. Because they can't advertise, they don't know what we're looking for without that job description.
Well, we can do the job description without the evaluation piece, can't we?
It's on the, you have that section that says performance evaluation areas on the job description, so you can't finalize it until that section is finalized. So I didn't know if you were good with that.
So what you can do is
I-
take the standard.
I did that. If you remember the last one I gave you the last time, I handed out the new one, I had revised it. I had put that, the like heading and the little description.
And that's all we need.
All right.
That's all we need, because then, and you don't need to put the whole
No,
evaluation.
I didn't put the whole sheet on there, no.
So I think if you just put the standard and the description
Right.
on the job description, then we'll be ready to go. Can you do that and send that back out?
Yeah, I'll resheet it when I get back to the office. I'll send it out to everybody, and so everybody has it updated.
And I'll ditto that, whatever Beth said. She's good at this.
I mean, we have plenty of time, because, I mean,
He's a guru.
it's going to be June 25th, so as long as it's on that same June 25th agenda, I mean, they can hit the ground running, so. we
Yeah,
still have some time.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's go. You did good.
All right, so my question is, so you said all these have to go to public hearing?
They have to do rulemaking, because those are board policies, so
All right,
you have to
But the job
undertake.
description is not a part of board policy.
They usually go to the board, so I would do that, yeah, on that one. This is a big deal.
Well, what I'm saying is, without the job description, can we go ahead?
You can
with
do the
rulemaking
policies,
on
yes.
the policy?
We can get it all going. We can start the rulemaking for the policies, and then whenever you guys tell me to go with the job description, I'll get that going.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So we're good to go on these.
Okay.
And then the job description,
I'll send it back out, and on April 2nd, you guys can say, hey, we looked at it, good to go, and I'll get that rolling too.
that's what we're gonna do. Okay, have we covered everything, or is there anything? Oh,
Just one
Rick.
clarification, because we're only changing the evaluation by one day, do you want to still schedule the board meeting for the 25th, or bump it back to the June 11th?
Oh, June 11th, I think is fine.
June 11th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good catch, because I know I mentioned that. Yeah, because we were like, leave everything the same.
Everything else is the same.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So are we good?
That's all we had to get done.
Okay, before you guys leave too soon, the Florida School Board Association dues are due. Nancy, I know I'm thinking you do yours, so we'll go ahead and take you off the cost. It probably will change. Right now, it would be $21,525. So are we good? Do you guys still want to?
You'll take mine off.
I'll take yours off, but that's what.
It's up to
it
how
is.
much now there? How much per board member?
Well, it's 21,525.
Is that for
so-
5 or 4?
I'm thinking that's 5, but I'll have to, I'm not sure. Let me check.
That's really gone
Is
up
that the
then.
4 or the 5? That's what I was thinking, but was that for 4 or 5? Okay, so it might
It was
be.
about $5 a piece.
Holy cow.
It's 21?
It's a little bit more.
A little bit more,
A
yeah.
little bit, because they've gone up then. Okay. And then also,
It
I'll
went
just
up,
clarify and make
like 550 or something like
it
that.
went up a
still a
little
lot.
bit.
It used to, a long time ago, it was, not a long time ago, but a couple of years ago, it was like 4,500, 4,400.
Okay.
It's really gone up.
Also, I received an email from Tina Pinkinson for the master board, and she gave 2 dates. I guess we'll have to travel. We could either go to Duval, and that's a Monday, June 17th, from 8:30 to 4:30, or we could go to Orange County, and that would be, I think it's May 16th, 8:30 to 4:30. Do one of those dates work for us, or do we want
What
to
was the
try?
first date?
The first day is June 17th, and that is a Monday,
Oh, there's stuff here.
and that's in Duval. Or we could do May 16th in Orange, 8:30 to 4:30.
Either one of them work for me.
Either one are good for me.
They work with me too. I guess do we want to go to Duval or Orange?
Orange is closer,
I think so too.
Yeah, and it's sooner, too.
and it's sooner.
Okay, so we'll go to Orange.
That's the 16th of May. Right?
Yeah.
More to come on that, Kelly?
More to come. I'll have to let her know. She just asked if any of these dates worked.
That's the executive board.
Okay.
Master board. That's the master board.
That's
right?
the master board. And then Dr. Mayor, I don't know if you want to come that date or not. You can check your schedule.
We have cabinet meeting and agenda, but we can move that if you'll
Okay,
initiate that request.
okay, I'll just.
And what are the hours, Kelly? 8 to?
8:30 to 4:30.
8:30 to 4:30.
Okay, that's all the business I had. Any concerns?
I have one issue I have to
Oh,
raise.
okay.
We have a new FCHR complaint that is received, and they are requesting mediation. I think it is a case that is a good mediation candidate. So I think my recommendation would be to sign up for mediation. Obviously, you're not obligated at any point in time to reach a resolution on that, and then if not, then we just go through the regular position statement filings and stuff after that. But I do think it's one that is worth sitting down in mediation for. So I just need a consensus so I can
Do we have a
schedule it.
consensus for mediation?
Sure.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so we're good?
Yep.
All right, well, with no further business, our meeting is adjourned at 2:15. 2:17. I can't even read.